Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Jennifer Surtees, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Major Lindsay Freeman. We warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Robert Nobel Rex Green, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge Major Attila Ovari, Gender Advisor, ADF Peace Operation Training Centre, Captain Liz Daly, Executive Officer of the ADF Peace Operations Training Centre, and all of those who are here to honour International Women's Day. We welcome the veterans who have served, those who are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremonies, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Robert Noble Rex Green. Robert Green was born in the Sydney suburb of Newtown on the 5th of November 1908, the youngest son of Henry and Ethel Green. Known as Rex to his family and friends, Green grew up in Ingleburn in Sydney's southwest with his 6 siblings and attended a local school. Green's early life was beset by a number of tragedies. Around 1930, his family home burnt down, and in 1931, his mother passed away from cancer. Despite these difficulties, Green persevered with his education and attained a law degree from the University of Sydney. He was admitted to the bar as a barrister and worked as a town prosecutor for the New South Wales Police. Green enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 20th of May 1940 at Paddington in Sydney and joined the newly formed 2nd 17th Infantry Battalion. This battalion formed and conducted its initial training in Green's home suburb of Ingleburn before moving for further training in Bathurst. Green clearly distinguished himself as a capable soldier and was promoted twice throughout his training to the rank of Lance Corporal in June 1940, then to Acting Sergeant in July. On the 19th of October 1940, Green sailed from Sydney for service in the Middle East and North Africa. While en route, his unit, the 2nd 17th Battalion, joined the 9th Australian Division. They would stay with this unit for the rest of the war. Soon after his arrival in the Middle East, Green had his rank of sergeant confirmed, and he spent the next 3 months training with his unit for desert warfare. In March 1941, Green and the 2nd 17th Battalion moved to the eastern defences of Tripoli in Libya, but they were soon forced to withdraw to Tobruk, along with the rest of the British forces in the area after a strong German and Italian attack. Green and the 2nd 17th then participated in the famous defence of Tobruk against concerted enemy attacks until they were withdrawn to Egypt. Green spent the next 9 months training in Egypt, Syria and Lebanon. During this period, on the 4th of April 1942, he requested to revert to the rank of corporal. It is unknown why he decided to request this demotion. Some possible reasons are that he wished to stay with a group of friends in the service, or he wished to remain in the front line rather than take on more clerical duties. In March, he transferred to the No. 11 Infantry Base Depot School, where he underwent specialist mortar training. He returned to his unit in June. The following month, Green and the 2nd 17th Battalion moved with the rest of the Australian 9th Division to the front near El Alamein in Egypt. Over the next months, El Alamein will become the scene for some of the heaviest and most important fighting for Australians in the war. In July 1942, German and Italian Axis forces made a series of attacks in the area in an attempt to take the city of Alexandria. It was vital for Allied forces to halt the attack so as to prevent Axis control of Egypt. Green and the 2nd 17th Battalion defended their sector to the front against enemy attacks and took part in a series of small-scale counterattacks until September, when they were part of the much larger Battle of El Alamein. During this period, Green was promoted once again and returned to the rank of sergeant. The Battle of El Alamein involved some 220,000 Allied and 180,000 Axis troops. It was an overwhelming success for the Allies and destroyed the Axis threat to Egypt. Green and his unit formed part of the northern tip of the Allied forces in the battle. On the evening of the 23rd of October, they advanced on their objectives after heavy artillery bombardment of the enemy positions. This barrage was so heavy that it reportedly could be heard nearly 100 kilometres away in Alexandria. Green and the 2nd 17th Battalion were able to reach their primary objectives, but were soon held up by enemy minefields, barbed wire entanglements, and the chaos and confusion of a night battle. Over the next 4 days, Green and the soldiers of the 2nd 17th, along with thousands of other Allied troops, endured enemy shelling, counterattacks, and tank assaults. The field diary of Green's 2nd 17th Battalion reports that the 26th of October was the first time in 3 days that any of the troops had a chance to get any sleep. In 4 days of battle, Green's battalion alone suffered nearly 200 casualties. Sergeant Green was killed in action at some point during the fighting on the 27th of October 1942. The exact time and cause of his death are unknown, but it is likely that he was killed either during an Italian tank attack before dawn or during heavy enemy artillery, tank and infantry attack against his battalion during the afternoon. He was 33 years old. He is buried in the El Alamein War Cemetery in Egypt, where over 7,200 Allied soldiers of the Second World War now lie. His name is listed on the honour roll on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Robert Nobel Rex Green, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the growing down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.